All right, hello everybody, and we are live here with episode 16 of the Crystal Crusaders in Storm King's Thunder. I am your DM, Brad, joined by three of my five players. Thor, Mike, and Morton are all here. Hello, guys. How are you doing today?
Hello.
Hello.
All right, and we are going to go ahead and get started here, get right into things. But first and foremost, just so everyone remembers what the fuck happened, we're going to do a recap of last session. Unfortunately, the guy who was supposed to give it is not here, so that uh, lovely responsibility falls to Morton. So, Morton, if you would kindly please elucidate us as to what happened last time on Storm King's Thunder.
Previously, we started right after fighting the Roper that we had 2 sessions ago, and we kept moving throughout Underdark, and moving our way through Underdark. It's a horrid place to be, and after a while, we found a bunch of dwarves that was mind controlled by something that we don't know what is, and they had some deformation. We have no idea where it comes from, but we heard a patrol coming, and Greknar, being reckless as he is, he moved closer, ended up being busted by this patrol, which was a patrol of some Duergar and creature we don't know what is, and it ended with fighting those surviving, and during the fight we realized it was the big creature that was deforming the dwarves, because a similar thing happened to our dear wizard Alexei throughout the fight, and after being beaten up we figured out we had to keep on moving, and our underguard guide, he kept moving while we took a break, and he showed us where to go, and we ended up moving towards a dwarven city, which is where we're heading now, right outside the huge gates of a dwarven underdark city.
Yes, called Gauntylgrym.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. So, we pick up right where we left off. You guys, last session, had managed to finally find your way to some semblance of civilization here in the Underdark, having been left here to your own devices. And last time you guys were approaching up, I think, like, Alquil was basically, like, piggyback ride, giving Alexei a piggyback ride because she was,
Me and
like,
Alex.
yeah, somebody was like giving a piggyback ride to Alexei because she basically couldn't walk, or at least not very quickly. And when you guys left off, yeah, you saw these like massive gates, like huge gates with portrayals of different like dwarven figures sort of like carved into them, and a number of statues that now you kind of like realize they are many of them seem to have been either like defaced or broken in some way. Now that you're looking at them, they're not like whole statues. They look ancient. And you were stopped by a patrol of dwarves as you like entered into this like cavernous area. And they basically said like, "Halt! Who goes there? What business do you have in Gauntylgrym?" And now he's just kind of like standing there. You can see he has a couple of battle axes, one on each sort of belt. Just he's kind of like holding his hand up, like waiting
Yeah.
for. Uh,
So I hold my hand up and I will reply in Dwarven. I'll just say hello. It says I am Alquil Redmoon. It says, and I come here with my compatriots, and I gesture towards the rest of them, um, like Nibelung Hayward, Alexei Condencia von Bourbon, Lucas Wormwood, Briork Arnskull, and Graknar. We are lost. We ended up captured and lost in the Underdark, we managed to free ourselves and have tried to find way to civilization. Yes.
Yeah, you see the dwarves kind of like look at each other, and he kind of scratches his beard, and he's just like, huh. Not often we see surface worlders coming through this way. Says, well then, let me be the first to welcome you to Gauntylgrym. Just, there's a few questions we have to ask you before we let you in. I said, follow me.
Certainly, certainly. We also have news that probably you'll be wanting to hear.
Yeah, he nods. And yeah, so he sort of like turns around and like kind of whistles for the other dwarves to kind of escort you, and they lead you up towards towards that like large set of gates. But you notice that to the side there's some sort of like gatehouse or like guardhouse or something. That you realize is a new construction. Like it's made. It seems like temporary almost, made more from like wood than like actual stone. And they lead you through into this area, and into a room where there is basically like a large kind of table with a number of chairs set down. And he just sort of gestures to the table, and he's like, "Take a seat. We gotta go fetch somebody. It'll be a few minutes."
Certainly. And I will help Alexei to have a seat and have a seat myself.
Yeah, so he whispers something to one of the guards, who begins like running off through the through to the outside, and he sort of he like turns to you all and says, sorry about the inconvenience. It's just times are rough and it's a bit of a formality here. Says, so you got me curious. You said you were captured, lost in the Underdark. He says, not a story I hear very often. Most people die when that happens.
Yes, we originally, I can't speak for Graknar. We met him during our capture, but we were in the city of Luskan. Though in the lower city of Luskan, the undercity of Luskan, where we were running afoul of some pirates known as Ship Retnar. A bunch of were-rats, lousy bunch. They had stolen some of our belongings. We were trying to recover the belongings and defeating the pirates when we were defeated at the last minute, taken captive rather than killed, then sold off to some lich named Akar Kessel, who has a bunch of undead servants, some dwarves, some half-elves, some other creatures, as well as these deformed giants. Well, the ship left us on a shore with only a few skeletons and this giant watching over us. That's when we met Graknar. He was also there. And during seeing a moment that we would be able to escape, we managed to get some of the belongings, kill our captors, get the rest of our belongings, and start heading our way out. Briork here has been trying to guide us through the Underdark, trying to find a place that's looked safe. We wandered for a long time, and eventually we made ourselves to Gauntylgrym, but not before braving a few dangers. Amongst them, we found a cavern filled with a bunch of dwarves mining, chained up together. They were mining some caverns, muttering about having to keep digging, gonna need a crown. Briork identified them as battlehammer dwarves, but their minds they were deformed. Their physical bodies were deformed. Their minds seemed not their own anymore. We tried to speak to any of them. They didn't acknowledge that we were there. Tried freeing some of them. They just went back to digging.
He sort of like froze his brow. He says, Moradin's beard, it seems like you've been through a lot. He says, these dwarves, do you remember where they were, how to get back to them? I'll send a patrol out immediately.
I know, we do. And I look over like Briarcraft, like, he's our guide. He probably would have a better way of explaining it than I do, but
Yeah, so Briork nods and basically like explains the convoluted path back through the cavern networks that lead to where you fought the Dwergar and their giant overlord. And the
Yeah.
dwarf like nods. Again, he sort of like motions over to one of the other guards that's kind of standing around the room, and like whispers something in their ear, and then they go off, presumably to like create a force. And he says, the captain says, I thank you for this information. Hopefully, we'll be able to get there and save them, figure out what's going
Just,
on.
just so you know, you should keep the manacles on and get them here. And I know it sounds horrible, but you need to lock them up because they won't do what you want them to do.
And he sort of like nods. And says, I said, indeed, if that's the case, whatever mind control they're under. I said,
And beware the giants, he says. The deformed giants are the ones that cause deformation, I guess, towards Alexei.
yeah, he sort of like looks at Alexei and he says, he says, terrible thing. Not the first time I've seen this. He says, but until now we didn't know what was causing it. So I suppose I should thank you for that.
Still, you need to figure out what made them lose their mind, so to speak.
Oh, I should also tell you, the giants weren't the only ones in that cavern. It was also Dorgard.
Sort of like, there's like this clump that kind of comes out of his mouth, and he's just like, Dwergard too. They're working with the giants? What the hell is going on? He just
I
sort
don't
of
know
like
about it.
shakes his head. And at this point, the door sort of creaks open, and you can see the the first dwarf that was sent out, returns, and he sort of like, he sort of does this salute, and he says, Captain Bristlecloak, I've brought the priest you asked for. And the dwarf that's sitting at the table with you kind of like nods and beckons them inside. And you can see there is this dwarven priest that enters into the room, and they're wearing like typical kind of like priest vestments, at least for like dwarves. So it's more like mining clothes than actual like priest robes. But they have
Oh, look who's here! Look who's here!
yeah, look who's here. They have a holy symbol in their hand. It appears to be some sort of like a gemstone or something. It looks as though it's like entombed deep within a mountain. And they sort of step forward and say, Captain Bristlecloak, I was told you had need of our services. He says, and the dwarf at the table nods, and he says, indeed, these travelers, they said they came from the Underdark. Gotten their story from them, but I just need to corroborate, make sure it's true. He says, make sure none of them are carrying anything inside, and he just sort of like taps his head.
Quick question: did I get inspiration for the thingy?
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm just gonna be right back for like maximum 2 minutes.
All right. Yeah, so the priest sort of like nods and steps forward and says, the dwarf turns to you and says, it's we're just going to be laying down a simple enchantment. Make sure you're not telling any lies. Says we've got to make sure that we've had some issues with. Have you ever heard of mind flayers?
It's just like, during his travels, I have. Briork told us about them.
And he says,
Oh no.
I said, well, this place used to be infested with them, and they're not exactly happy that we kicked them out. We've had a few issues where they seem to have implanted some sort of creature in someone's head and snuck into the city and caused problems. I said, if you've been traveling through the Underdark, we just got to make sure you haven't been compromised in any way. And yeah, as he's talking, the priest is casting the spell, which eventually finishes, and there's this sort of like this soft glow that fills the room. And you all feel like an effect washing over you I mean, you can resist if you want, but
I do not resist small truth.
I fight it with every fiber of my body.
Fight
I'm
it.
back.
What is it, a charisma saving throw if they want
I think
to?
it is a charisma, yeah. If you want to try to fight it. Yes, a charisma saving throw.
If I don't get into my sheet in time, I'll just say I don't fight it.
I'm not giving out a +4 to anyone.
You are no
that something
longer
you turn
you
on
are
and
no
off?
longer my allies.
Like a Wi-Fi signal?
He's not hot spotting. 4, you fuck.
Hotspot shield. What?
All right. So yeah, this
Yeah,
this happens.
you must. Yeah, carry on.
And the priest sort of like nods, says, "The spell's in effect, Captain Bristlecloak." And he sort of nods, and the captain sort of turns to you and says, "So just to confirm one more time, tell me your story. How did you find your way here?"
All right.
Repeat the exact same thing.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah, you
repeat
don't
the
have
story.
to. Yeah, okay, yeah. He sort of like nods and says, "And you and your group didn't encounter any strange pools or mind flayers on your way here."
We
Only thing we encountered was drow with some spiders, a rope. A thing that looked like a stalactite hanging in the air, roping us up.
a river.
Gilgar. Yeah, river, but we crossed it without any meeting of anything, and
Yes.
and the big hunchback things.
Yes, and there was like some signposts which were like showing
and-
off mind flayers according to Briork.
Yes, and some elf-looking things.
Yeah. So then he kind of like
Well,
nods
fair.
at this, and then you can see he shuffles around and like there's a stone tablet that he kind of like picks up and holds up, and you can see there's like a some sort of like strange looking like asymmetrical rune like carved on it. It doesn't look like most typical like runes are very like rigid. This one's like flowing and organic looking. And he like sets it down on the table and he says, and he turns to you and says, "Can any of you read this?"
What is it? Can any of the readers read it?
Do any of you have deep knowledge of deep speech?
Nope.
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 But I have comprehend languages as a spell. So just give me a second.
He says that won't be necessary. I'm just checking to make sure there's nothing riding along. Well, it seems as though you're all up above board, so I suppose that means that this is done with. Thank you, brother. You can dispel the magic. Priest nods, and you can feel the spell fade. Again, the guard turns to you and says, "Again, I'm sorry about all this. It's just we've got to be careful in these times. Things are rough." I said, "With the Drow and the Dwergar and their constant assaults, I said not to mention those mind flayers trying to get back what they think is theirs, and these new giants." He says, "Word on the surface from our sister holds is that things aren't doing much better there either." He says, "But regardless of all that," he says, you've passed our little test, so welcome to Gauntylgrym." And he sort of gestures for you to stand up. He says, "Let me show you in."
I nod and says thank you. No worries about this all. Very understandable. And I'll help Alexei stand back up and start moving.
Oh god, I'm
yeah.
still crippled, aren't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Ah.
he turns to you as he sees this, and he's just like, says, "If you'd like, I could perhaps take you to see some of our priests. We have a number of
Yes, please.
Well, we have a number of, well, dwarves that are similarly stricken. They've been keeping an eye over them. Maybe they have some sort of insight.
Yes, please. Thank you.
That will be wonderful.
He sort of like nods and says, luckily for you, and he's like walking as he's talking and like leading you to the gate. It says like, luckily for you, this gateway that you managed to stumble upon is right next to the tabernacle, so it shouldn't be too far. And yeah, so the gates like grind open. There's like this sound of stone grinding on stone, and these massive gates, large enough for like a dragon or giant to walk through comfortably, open up, and you can see leading through. You are on a high ledge with a number of like stone buildings. Many of them seem to be sort of like crumbled or defaced in some way. There are stone buildings surrounding you, and then you can see in front of you there is a massive chamber that at one point in time must have been just like quite the sight to behold, as you can see evidence of the craftsmanship of the old Delzoon dwarves lying in what remains of the crumbled facades of grand cathedrals, larger than almost any that you've seen on the cities of the surface, larger than anything that Alquil has ever seen. Alexei, there's been some in Waterdeep that are like bigger than this, but as far as most of the rest of you, these buildings are like the biggest you've ever seen. And you can see down below there are streets that are choked with debris from fallen statues to dwarven gods, and crumbled temples that kind of like flank the walkways at every turn. You could see, however, that the dwarven faithful seem keen to show their faith in restoring this craftsmanship. As you can see down below, a number of dwarves, groups of dwarves, priests of some kind, using ropes and pulleys to heft mighty stone blocks and aid in the reconstruction of these cathedrals. And as he leads you forward, he leads you out onto like the edge of this this kind of like overlook that you're on, and onto a circular platform. And as you all like step onto the circular platform, he like makes a signal, and a dwarf off to the side like pulls this lever, and you all feel like the ground beneath you shake, and then there's a grinding stone as this circular platform begins to slowly lower itself down a shaft. And it takes a while. It's like slow, so it's about like a minute as you're just like slowly descending down this shaft on this circular platform. And then eventually you hear like a loud thud as it like hits the bottom and like clicks into place. And you are now like standing in a walkway. You can see that has been like cleared out. There's a number of like there's a lot of debris piled off to the side, and some like crumbled statues here. But the walkway here has been mostly cleared out. And you can see dwarves seem to be coming and going, cleaning up the rubble and sort of reconstructing the craftsmanship of these buildings. And he's just sort of like beckons again, like just follow after me. And you follow him, and eventually he leads you to one of these kind of like ruined like temple buildings that has been, you can see there's like a temporary roofing structure that's been like added, and like the doorway has been sort of repaired. Again, it all looks very temporary, like just like a makeshift kind of thing. And he sort of like knocks on the door, and it swings open, and you see another dwarf, this one actually wearing more typical like priestly attire, who just sort of like sees you all, and sees the captain, and he says, Captain Bristlecloak, please come in. The captain nods, and as you all enter the room, you can see it's a sizable room that has clearly been turned into some sort of like temporary infirmary or something, as there are a number of like simple like stone beds with straw mattresses that have been like laid out along the outskirts of this room, and you can see lying in each bed, in like varying states of appearance, essentially, a number of dwarves who are very similarly to Alexei right now, sort of disfigured looking. Some of them less so, but some of them look even worse than Alexei is. And there's like this sort of groaning that's coming from each of these dwarves that like fills the room. And yeah, as you all like enter, the captain like stops and says, "Allow me to introduce you to Brother Hammerford. He's the one in charge of this here operation." And the priest sort of like nods and says, "It is good to meet new folks." He says, "Outsiders from the surface world." I said, "Not often we see your kind here in the hallowed halls of Gauntylgrym, at least not this far below." And he looks over you, and eventually, like his eyes come to Alexei, and he goes, "Oh my!" I says, "You poor thing."
Help.
And yeah, he like quickly sort of like take her over to one of the spare beds. I said,
Thank you.
yeah, and I assume you guys like do. There's like a bed nearby. You lay Alexei down on it. It is very, very not comfortable. It's like it's like a stone bed with like straw laid on top of it. But yeah, so he says, so you I take it from the looks of this girl, you've encountered the same thing that our scouts have encountered. I said, the same thing that did this to all my fellow dwarves and brothers and sisters.
Yes, the giants. Say.
And he says, giants. So they're responsible.
I nod. The deformed ones. They look like giants, but they look like they're deformed. They have one large evil eye, which when it sets its eye upon you, it's when this may happen. I say, or at least that's what it seemed like. Sometimes
Sure.
it didn't happen. Sometimes it did.
Sort of like nods. It says, giants, I see. Deformed ones. Says, perhaps, and he like gestures over to another, like an acolyte or something, and he says, go see if there's anything in the libraries. I said, this might be an interesting vein of research. And the acolyte like nods and begins leaving the building, and he says, I said, this is a interesting new development. Until now, we had no idea what was causing this. We would just find our patrols returning like this, and they had no knowledge of what caused it. He says, as far as your friend here, and he sort of like, you can see he makes like a gesture and like casts some sort of spell, obviously, like looking over her. And he says, whatever is afflicting her is the same thing afflicting these dwarves, and, well, I have good news and bad news, I suppose.
Good news.
I said,
Bad news.
Bad news first.
said the
Bad
bad.
news first.
I said the bad news is that, well, it may be permanent.
Alcohol.
At least they got the good news first.
I said the. I said the good news is that
Wait,
it
what?
might. I said the good news is that it might wear off in time.
Might.
I said.
Alcohol.
He just sort of says, unfortunately, it's a bit hard to say. We've had a number of cases. Some of them seem to give them a few days of bed rest, and whatever foul magic has worked over them seems to fade away, and they return to normal. But for the most part, they, and he kind of gestures around the room, they stay like this. I said, from what I can tell, this is no typical magic. They don't respond to any sort of, well, attempts to dispel or remove disease or anything like that. Whatever this is far more powerful, ancient.
Well, that's uplifting.
Oh, for goodness sake.
What?
So, well, yeah, Alexei's just. What do you mean, what? She's just being told all this. Anyway, so she's gonna lie there. How long do you think it might take to wear off if it's temporary?
He sort of like turns to you, and your companions and say, hard to say. I said, what do you think of her force of will? I said,
like,
I said,
Everyone looks down, voice eye contact.
I said,
I'm
these
just
sorts
like-
of. I said, from what I've seen, the dwarves most capable of recovering from this have been the most outgoing, gregarious types, strong personalities, all of them.
Oh,
Right.
well, that's beneficial. Maybe I'll be okay. Ow, okay.
I mean, she has a unique personality for sure. As I said, and she's a lot tougher than she looks, but depends on what you mean with willpower. Yes.
She gives up. She gives up way too easy.
What do you mean?
I look at her and then like push my face towards her like fast.
What does that have to do with Will?
Well, fingers crossed. I says. I look towards Alexa and says like, your friends in Waterdeep, could they not be of assistance?
Possibly. I haven't wrote to them in a while on account of being held prisoner. Then
Yes.
she'll take out, like, her parchment inkwell from her backpack and say, I'll see if they can do anything, along with a
Right.
few other requests.
I look towards the priest and says like, does anyone here in the city have the ability to send messages across using magic or across distances with just the name of the person?
Oh, good sending spell. Good idea. Jot that down.
He sort of like thinks and says, well, we have a few that are capable of that through some artifacts that we've uncovered, but we can't really, we could talk to the other dwarfholds, but nowhere else really.
Damn it. I says, we were separated from one of our compatriots back in Luskin. I says, I hope he has made it out and is okay. I says,
And he says, I'm sorry to hear that, but unfortunately, we have no way to send word to this comrade of yours. Says, well, your friend is welcome to make use of this bed for the time being. And Alexei, as you're like pulling out this like paper and like parchment and going to like write, you just feel like intense pain like shooting through your fingers, which have been like twisted and gnarled by this like foul magic. And it's like you can write, but it's like incredibly painful and it's taking like a long time. And kind of ends up looking like a kindergartner wrote it.
Alquill, will you scribe for me?
sure, I say.
Excellent. I'll dictate.
Yep.
And so she'll dictate a letter explaining what's happened, fucking hell, since they got to Luskin, where they are now, and what's happened to her. If there's anything that they can do to help, or anything they might know that could help. Maybe she'll even ask for the sending spell. Have you got
Yeah.
that? You can maybe give me, please. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
I will add to the message myself, like it's just like, or if you could contact like Sirak of Sasale, it says, and I write in the message like he was in Luskan last. We got separated from him. He is connected to Arthur Simber. And then the last note I just write like Alquill Redmond.
That last bit took you a little while to write there, Alquill.
It's like, oh yes, sorry, I'm. It's
Illiterate.
I'm not as I'm not as well studied as you yourself.
Skilled in the ways of the pencil.
Yeah.
Well, while this is all going on, and Elpil is kind of like writing this letter as Alexei dictates it, I think this is where we shall go ahead and take our first break, and we will be right back in about 5 to 10 minutes.
All right, be back.
I'm a good wizard, guys.
And we are back. Ready to continue here. Yeah, you guys, Alexei has been sort of admitted to this a dwarven temple facility here for to rest and recover. They'll look after her. And so, yeah, you have just finished scribing this letter to who are you addressing it to specifically?
My master.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, you address it to your master, and boop, pop it into the bag. And Alqua, as you see it like enter into the bag, you notice there's like a little like popping sound,
Yeah.
and the letter just seems to like vanish, and yeah, so you will get a response at some point. Obviously not immediate, but you get the feeling your letter has been received.
Yep.
And
Uh-huh.
in the meantime, yeah. So the priest sort of like looks over to you and says, "We will take watch of her here. Make sure her condition doesn't worsen. Do what we can to assuage her pain. In the meantime," says, "I'm sure the last thing you folks want to do is stand around here." He says, and he kind of mentions, it is, of course, you probably can't tell, but it is pretty late.
Says, yeah, no, what time of day it is, I'm not even sure.
Said, well, we don't really go by time of day here, but it's pretty close to quitting time, so time to pack your bags up, head on home, and, well, or hit the taverns. Mostly hit the taverns.
I see. Well, thank you. I think we're all in need of some rest. I look at everyone else.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, you, Alexei, are you staying in the here, or are you coming with us?
This bed's not very comfortable.
Well, that might just be your condition.
Are you saying I can't be comfortable?
Maybe.
No! Aquil!
It's like, I'm just saying. It's like,
Crying now.
God damn it.
Alquil, maybe you should put her out of her misery.
I look at them like, it's like, no.
I mean, don't you have any spells or anything? Like, soothe or some shit?
Oh.
What do you think I meant? What's wrong with you?
Well, I have seen you melt the guy's face off for no particular reason. Says,
Take me with you. I'd rather not be on my own.
fine. Also, I'll give like 5 points here.
Excellent. 23 out of 51.
You could have used those 5 to cure disease or something.
Yeah, so you all like
We already checked that she doesn't have any disease.
Oh, okay.
you
Talking
all
about disease of the mind, then.
you
I'm afraid
all
even paladins haven't mastered the art of curing mental illness.
so you all decide to go see if you can find some place to stay for the night, quote unquote. And the dwarf says, well, if you're looking for rooms to stay in, you won't find any here in the tabernacle, but if you hurry, you might be able to catch the last mine train back to the Vault of Kings. Plenty of places to stay there.
Certainly. Where the fuck are we? You said we're in the mine something?
You are in the Iron Tabernacle.
Okay, the Iron Tabernacle. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Yes. Sure. Certainly. Let's see if we can do that.
whatever that is.
Yes. Whatever that is.
Yeah. So he gives you directions to the minecart station, And he says, "You better be quick about it, though. The last minecart's gonna be heading out soon."
Right. I grab Alexei and lift her up.
Thank you for carrying me.
As it's like, hopefully this will be sort itself out soon. So
He said, "If her situation gets any worse, make sure to bring her right here."
certainly. Says thank you for all your help so far.
He nods and says, "Best of luck to you, surface worlders. May the stone ever be beneath your feet." And yeah, he moves to see to more of the patients here. And yeah, you guys head out following his instructions, moving down the like cobble choked streets here. And yeah, eventually you could see there is there's like a large tower almost. Well, not like large. It's, a few stories. This like tower that is built in the center of this area. And you can see elevated above like all of the various like temples, there's like a ring with a number of like bridges that almost seem to like go out from it. And as you like walk up to this tower, there's a dwarf like standing there. He says, "Ho, travelers, hurry up. Last train's about to head out."
Right, certainly.
Let's go.
And
go.
so you rush up, and there's like a spiral staircase that leads up to a platform where you can see that there are a number of what look like, iron rails with like wood interstitched between them, which, I mean, none of you are familiar with. Obviously, like you've never really seen anything like this, or at least on this scale. And he just gestures over, like there's some like iron buckets, so like massive iron buckets that are there. And you can see there are other dwarves like sitting in some of these cars, and they're all like linked together or whatever. So you like quickly like run over and just assume like, well, everyone else is sitting in these carts, so I guess we go sit in the carts.
Yep.
And yeah, you do so. You like quickly hop into the carts, and as you do, like the doors like slide close, and you like hear a shout like, it's like, "All aboard! Last call for the train to the Vault of Kings." And you see like a couple of dwarves like scrambling up the stairs, like running and like trying to like jump onto the train as it like slowly begins to move away down the rails.
A picture like you said something completely different in Vault of Kings, and we're like, wait.
Yeah, I had the exact same thought, but it's like, all right, hold the cart for another. All right, moving on to the main gates.
Wait, what?
All right, yeah, and so you guys, this cart begins to move at first like slowly, and then the speed begins to like pick up and pick up and pick up, and this cart is like, it enters into what looks like a mostly natural cavern that has sort of been dug out a little bit. So there's like a little, it's like half natural, half worked, and there's this train track that basically goes through it, and this cart is going along it, and at some points it seems to sort of like be going up and down and kind of twisting around back on itself, and it's going very, very quickly. You can see all the like stone going by, like whizzing by. Sometimes you like see a stalactite up ahead, and you're like, is my head going to hit this because I'm too tall? But no, it's fine, and it's a long journey. This cart is going for maybe about 15-20 minutes before you see like flickering light up ahead again. Like you've just been in complete darkness this whole time. You see flickering light up ahead again as it begins to pull in, and it begins to slow down and pull in to another station. And here you sort of like see as the cavern opens up, you look up and see basically you are on the bottom level of a large, like a massive high-ceilinged chamber, and up above you, you can see a network of bridges, stone towers, and like walls, all carved from the rock and sheathed in what looks like fading iron and mithril murals. And there are like dozens, or maybe even like hundreds of chambers that like all lead out across these bridges, and like cut into the stone walls around you. And there are a large number of dwarves kind of hard at work on scaffolding on these various levels, pulling stone and like chiseling away at stuff and reconstructing the ancient dwarven ruins of Dalzoon's greatest city, Gauntylgrym. And yeah, so you guys are at like the bottom level. There's this like one central massive stone tower that goes straight from the bottom all the way up to the top, and your like minecart is kind of like pulling into another tower that is close by that one. And as it like pulls up and like comes to a stop, you hear like a dwarf like shout, says, "We've arrived at our destination, the Vault of Kings. Get off and go home." I said, "Or go get drunk, whatever's your prerogative."
I love dwarven announcers.
All right. I get off. I help Alexei and like, right. Let's look for this the closest tavern.
Yeah, so you see the dwarf like conductor, quote unquote, like standing there like greeting people as they like get off the train or whatever. Yeah, he sort of like says, he's like saying like, "Welcome to the Vault of Kings," and he sees you and he's like, "Oh, well, isn't this a surprise? Not often you see surface worlders on these trains."
Says, "Yes, we came from below. Could you perhaps direct us to the closest tavern or a place where we can sleep?"
He says, "Closest tavern, huh?" He says, "Well, as far as a place to find a room and a drink, well, you wouldn't do any better than the Sleeping Anvil. It's up on the top level." And he kind of like gestures. You can see there's a bridge that leads out to that massive tower that you saw.
Yeah.
And he says, "Just head out that way to the tower and take the elevator up to the top floor."
All right. Much appreciated.
He says, "That's where most of the folks from the surface tend to congregate." He says, "You'll find your way simple enough. Just look for the building with a giant anvil as a sign."
Certainly. He says, "Thank you." Then I'll say like greeting farewell and start heading out, trying to find this anvil place.
All right. Yeah, so you follow his instructions, heading out to the central tower, and you have to, like, wait a little bit. There's a number of dwarves, like, gathered around this platform. And right now, there's, like, a big, empty stone, like, pit in the center of it. And you, like, look down. It just seems to descend down into darkness. And you wait around for maybe, like, 5 minutes or so before you hear, like, a grinding sound. And you see, like, up above, another one of these, like, circular stone platforms is slowly descending. And as it does, it sort of, like, hits the bottom. There's a sound as like some mechanism latches into place, and you see a number of dwarves that were riding on it begin like scattering out and heading out in various different directions, and a number of the other dwarves that were waiting begin to like pile onto this platform.
All right. And yep, like start heading to that platform. Let's just try finding this place then.
All right, so yeah, you all clamber onto the platform, and again, it's sort of like this slow ride. As it like slowly goes up, it stops at like every single other level on the way up to the top, and it probably ends up taking like 5 to 10 minutes before it finally reaches the top where you were told to like get off. And at this point, you guys are basically like the only people left on it. All the doors have gotten off further down below, but once you reach the top, it sort of stops, and yeah, you see there are other dwarves, like there are dwarves here, like waiting to get on, and as soon as it like stops, they all begin to like rush forward, to like get on, and so you quickly just sort of like jump out of the way, basically, like get off of this thing before the dwarves like trample you, and yeah, you begin like looking around, maybe like asking some of the people here for directions. The first thing, like obviously you notice up here, every other place you've been, it's just been like nothing but dwarves. Here there's still like mostly dwarves, but you can see like humans, elves, and the likes. Very few of them, but they're mixed in, and they seem to be sort of like doing business or something here. You ask around, and eventually you are directed to a building that is this sort of short, squat stone tower, and there's like a signpost out front where there's like actually like a literal iron anvil like embedded into the side of the building, and then a signpost beneath it that says "Get hammered and get ye rest in either order you'd like."
I look at Alquilla, give him a thumbs up.
Yeah. I noticed like this seems to be the place.
All right.
Now we head inside.
All right, so you prepare yourselves and head inside, and you just enter into probably the most raucous tap room that you have ever like seen in your life. It is absolutely full to the brim with dwarves, mostly dwarves, but a few like other races just standing around like drinking and conversing. The main tavern room itself seems to be like pretty bare of most furniture, save for the bar itself and a few tables and chairs that are kind of scattered around the room, most of them taken up by what appear to be dwarves playing different card or dice games. And you can see the at the bar, there's just like there's a man behind the bar, a dwarven man with a holy symbol that looks sort of like a, what does it look like here? Looking up my dwarven gods. It looks like a small like short sword that is like embedded with a number of like gems. And he is wearing, like, you can see he's actually wearing like armor, even though he's like standing behind this bar and like serving drinks. And he's just like constantly like handing out drinks to dwarves, like shouting at one end of the room, and you can see like little people like grabbing the drinks and running them over, and it's a hectic scene. Very, very raucous here. And as you're entering into the room, like you have to like basically like push through people, which isn't very difficult considering you're like taller than most of them. But as you like, I said most of you are taller than most of them. And yeah, you make your way up, and I assume you're basically gonna go like straight towards the bar
Yeah.
area.
Towards bar to barkeep.
Of course. Good place to go. Yeah, so you push your way past a few of the like ongoing games of dice, and you can see like there's one game where there's dwarves. Each of them seems to have like 3 dice, and they're like rolling them, and occasionally one like picks one up and like rolls another, and they're placing bets and like shouting in anger, and you make your way up to the bar, and you can see this barkeep there, who has finally, like, as you arrive, like finally gotten a break from all the drink orders. And he says,
I hold up my hand with 5 on.
he just sort of like, he just like laughs, this like bellowing, like hearty laugh. And he says, just when I thought perhaps I'd gotten a break. Right, 5 ales coming right up. And he just sort of turns around and begins like pouring ale out of a keg in the back. Yeah, and he like quickly does it. He does that with like extreme quickness. Is like bam, 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 like does them, and then slides them back all onto the bar. And they all kind of like spread out to each of you. He says, that'll be 5 silvers.
I take all 4 in one hand, 1 in the other, and I walk away after I give him 5 silver.
Yeah.
I give him a gold, and I just say, keep him coming.
That's what I like to hear.
It's just like, right. I say like we need rooms. I'll gesture to. How many are we now? 6.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Priority.
5, 6. Yeah. Yep. We're 6 people. Just like so, room for 6 people.
Yeah. So he sort of like looks over to you all. Says, 6, huh? Let me check the books. And he like scrambles behind the desk and like pulls out this like large kind of like musty looking tome and starts flipping through it. He says, well, you're gonna have to share some rooms, but I've got enough for a few of you. He says, I got 3 rooms ready to go. It'll be 5 silvers each room.
All right, so 15 silver.
I point at the gold I gave him.
Oh, he says,
I thought you walked off.
I said, yeah, I thought you walked off.
Yeah, okay, I did. Never mind.
I'll give him a gold and 5 silver pieces.
All right, yeah, he takes it. And he says,
He's just gonna
rooms
keep
are
coming.
rooms are all upstairs. And he kind of like hands you over some keys.
All right, I say thank you, and I'll like says like I'll go have a look and I'm just gonna immediately head over there and help Alexa to her room.
Yeah, and he says,
Thank you.
if you need anything
you.
else, I'll be here. Name's Stoneforge.
Just, oh no, he's evil.
Is he okay with housing a woman with AIDS?
Oh my!
Alexei. It's like got like super AIDS or something.
Super AIDS. I mean, magically cursed.
Yep. So man, how are we bunking now then? There's we're two people in 3 rooms. I guess I'll bunk with Alexis, and somebody needs to keep an eye on her. What?
Nobody else wants to do that.
Well, I wasn't gonna say anything, but
Don't worry, I did.
I woke up and buy 5 more.
Yeah, you
I'm just chugging.
just chugging. Can you make me a Constitution saving throw?
Can I make it with advantage? Because I'm
Why?
an alcoholic. I don't know.
Like real life or in game?
both.
Both.
Okay. You get suitably, like, you finish all these drinks, you just get suitably, like, thrashed, like, to the point where, rooms spinning, you can't really, you're just, like, sweating profusely. It's
Walking's a bit difficult.
you get fucking hammered.
I start punching myself and I keep going. Can I buy 1 then?
Yeah, I mean, he'll keep giving you drinks for, like, at least once you finish the 5, he'll keep giving you up to 5 more since you paid for them. And unlike other bars where they might be, like, responsible and be like, hold on, you've had too many, he just keeps giving you them as long as you want.
Nice. Just like here.
At some point, I walk up, and I don't care which of the rooms, and just put my axe there, and just leave my backpack there, and I just keep going.
All right.
Gonna pass out. Gonna puke and pass out.
make another Constitution saving throw. With disadvantage. All right, yeah. I think at some point you do just like pass out and start like throwing up over the floor, and probably somebody like drags you up to one of the rooms. But that's a while in. Meanwhile, everybody else is just going to their rooms, setting up things. Yeah, so you get all set up. Alexei, when you sort of get to your room and get all situated, you feel a weight shift in the bags that you carry on your side there, little courier's pouch that you have.
I'm disappointed that our paladin hasn't cured any diseases on me
Oh, that was on you, mate.
Yep.
I'm just saying I'm disappointed. I'm not saying it's your fault.
Yeah, so you feel like a heavy weight in your bag, James.
Okay. Alquill, can you reach into my bag?
Actually, fucking hell. I did constitution checks. There should be 3 more on both of them.
What?
Actually, there's supposed to be 7 more on both of them.
Check.
No,
Not
3.
safe.
Why
Yeah,
would there be 7 more? That'd be ridiculous.
Yeah, I meant 3 more
Ugh.
on both of them.
It's all right.
Reach into my bag, Alquill.
Yes. I will reach into your bag.
Yeah, so reaching into the bag, you see the previously empty bag now. As you're ruffling around, you grip a what seems to be like a rather like sturdy object inside, and as you like pull it out, you can see there's a scroll case inside with a like ribbon tied around it, and like a little like note kind of stuffed into the ribbon that's been like tied off.
All right. I says it's like I look at Alexa and it's like, should I just read it for you?
Wait, let me smell it.
Okay.
Sure.
I give it a sniff. Okay, that's brandy. That's definitely his. Okay, you can open it now.
Weird ass wizards.
Yeah, so you can see there's been basically like a letter like tied to a scroll case.
Yeah. So I open it.
All right, so you open it up and begin reading.
Yeah, I read out loud.
Yeah, so it's just sort of like, Dear Alexei, it is good to hear from you again. We at the Blackstaff Tower were worried when you had not contacted us that you had perhaps perished in your mission. He says, it seems you've been through quite a lot. I do not have much time to write here. We are busy at work, decoding that letter still. He says, as far as your companion, whoever this Alquil Redmoon is,
Does he skip over those bits?
No, just like
There's a few bits. that aren't
he
important.
says, unfortunately, the magic by which one might send messages across great distance requires you to be intimately familiar with the target, and none of us have ever met this Cyric fellow, so we cannot do it for you. However, I have, through great pains and lengths, managed to scribe a scroll myself, which Alexei should, according to what I have taught her, be able to scribe into her own spellbook and use for her own purposes. Says, it is consider it a favor from the tower. These things are costly, so use it wisely.
Alright, so this is like, I'll quit. But I have the scroll, blah blah blah.
Wait, did he mention you?
That's like, no, it's
You can see
maybe
It's different Alquil Redmoon.
at the bottom, the letter is signed with this just like extremely elaborate RT.
Yeah, this is an RT here. It says.
Ah, I knew my master would come through. Okay,
So there's a scroll for you. It says apparently it's magical.
excellent. Alright, this is what we need. I'm going to have to describe this, and it's not going to be comfortable.
It's just like, I suppose that's not something I can help you with.
No, that's something she
Well,
would have
let's
to
see.
do herself.
And she says, well, maybe. And she'll say, take 50 gold out my bag and go buy me some ingredients.
I was just like, what?
Yeah, I need
at
some.
At this time of night, do you think there are gonna be any stores open?
Well, we'll do it tomorrow then.
Yes. Also, what are the ingredients you need?
Right, yes, and so I need some specialized ink, and then
Need some special
she'll start
ink.
listing off like convoluted magical ingredients.
Oh my god.
It should total to 50 gold.
Exactly. Not one less, not one more. If not, the spell will not work.
Hockey will go with you, don't worry.
Right. So that will make everything awesome. Anyway, yes. I'll just keep an eye out Alexei, like if she ends up like falling asleep, maybe I'll go down and have a drink.
Excellent. You find a really drunk fucking Morton.
Orc.
Yeah.
No,
Crocodile,
drunk,
not
no.
Morton.
I don't get as easily drunk as this guy does, apparently. Jesus.
I
After
mean,
10 beers?
yeah, these
Yeah.
are like 10 like huge
Dwarven
dwarven ales. Like this is like
Closest-
because dwarves are resistant to like the effects of poison and stuff, so their ale is like twice as much alcohol as you would expect normally.
They literally have rat poison in them.
Probably drinking like 15% or something.
Done that. It's great.
Yeah.
All right, so Alexei, you want to work on scribing this scroll, which is indeed a scroll of sending.
Indeed.
Okay. Let me just double check here. See how long it will take. There's spell you can add spellbook. So it says for each level of the spell, the process takes 2 hours and costs 50 gold. So Sending is a 3rd level spell, so it's actually 150 gold, and it will take you 6 hours to copy the spell into your spellbook.
All right, cool. Quill, the price has just gone up. I spend 150 gold.
Yeah, so we'll go ahead. You guys take your long rest. That's fine.
Sending spell.
Long
Welcome.
rest.
But obviously, Alexei, you're going to have to, obviously, unless you want to stay up all through the night and be exhausted and crippled in the morning, you'll have to work on scribing the scroll tomorrow.
That's fine. That was the plan.
Yep. So yeah, you guys take your long rest here during the night, and yeah, I guess first thing in the morning, Alquil, you go out. You manage to find the like weird inks and components that Alexei needs to write down these weird spells of hers, and bring them back to her room. And she basically just spends the day painfully writing things out. So, meanwhile, while she's doing that, since that's going to take basically all day, what does everybody else want to do?
Get my sword fixed.
Your sword broke? Oh yeah, you dropped it from...
Yeah, I dropped it. It's a -1 sword now.
Oh, damn.
So I need to find somebody who can fix my, or either I can borrow their forge or they help me like fix this sword. I don't suppose there's any chance I could. I don't have enough money to find like a +1 sword, unless Lucas would be willing to give me money. But
How much do you need?
well, to find a magical +1 sword, who knows?
Who knows?
I'll come with you and maybe I can help.
Yeah, so it's like either I need to fix my like silver sword, or I need to get a magical +1 sword. One would be obviously preferable to the other.
Alright, I'll go with him then.
All right. So you guys seek out in search of a forge. I guess. Do you stop and ask who do you ask for directions?
The bartender.
Train
All right. Yeah.
announcer.
Yeah. So you head up to the bartender, Brother Stoneforge, and he says, looking to get a sword reforged, are you? He says, well, you're in the right place, that's for sure. Says, best place to go would be the Great Forges, of course. Kind of like looks over, and he like pulls out this like strange little like mechanism. He says, if you catch the 7 o'clock train to the Iron Tabernacle, head across there. There's an elevator that leads down to the Great Forges. I said,
Those are words, but yes.
Those are definitely words.
7 o'clock train. All right. So a train. Thank you. I will be heading over there.
He sort of like nods. It says, best of luck to you.
I just, thank you. Hope you have a nice day.
What time was it now?
It's
Yes,
like
go.
first thing in the morning, so you guys like adventurers wake up pretty early, so you've got a bit of time before this train. Although you don't have the like keen-mindedness that lets you tell exactly what time it is, but
It's a time.
it's a time.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I assume you guys like head back down to the train station.
FYI, I sleep in a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Well, definitely. Yeah. A little bit.
just a little bit.
just
Not a lot.
just half the day.
Yeah.
And yeah, so you guys head down to the train station. And when you get there, it is absolutely fucking packed full of dwarves. This is like New York City subway, like packed first thing in the morning.
Hey, I'm walking here.
Forget about it.
The dwarves are New Yorkers. No!
And the trains are going constantly like out of the different like stations going this way and that way, and you have to wait. Like you basically like when you arrive, there's like so many crowds of people that you kind of have to like wait for several trains to go through before there's like enough room on one of them for you to get on. And you get on, and again it like leads you down through this like dark long kind of tunnel, and you're going a lot faster because it's actually it was sort of uphill the first time. Now you're just going like straight downhill. So this thing is like going at like a crazy speed. You're like afraid the train is gonna just like fly off the rails and crash at some points. But the dwarves don't seem to mind it at all. And you're very like all these cars are like so packed that you're basically like squished up amidst like a bunch of like dwarves and each other. Like it is not a comfortable experience on the way back down. But eventually the train comes to a stop at the station. You are once more in the Iron Tabernacle, this sort of like holy city almost. And yeah, you I guess rather more than you exiting the train, you get like pushed off of it by the throng of bodies like leaving the station. And eventually you are like deposited into the streets somewhere.
All right. Now let's go look for someone. Looks for some forges.
Yep.
Maybe some master-crafted weapons that can
Yeah,
be
so you like ask around, and basically like somebody eventually directs you to a building sort of near the end, the other end of this Iron Tabernacle from where you like first entered it. Like you could see the ledge up above where you entered from. Like on the other side of this like cavern, there is like a building there. The facade of which has kind of like crumbled away, but inside there's another one of these like elevators, whatever the hell those are. And yeah, there's people like going onto it. Not as many as like other places, but there's some people like moving onto it. And as you like enter, it begins to descend down and down and down and down and down and down. And you're going like this elevator ride is like 30-40 minutes of just like descending down this like dark shaft. Like you cannot see anything. And eventually it it reaches the bottom, and there's light again. Thank God. And in fact there's a lot of light as you enter out into this large area that seems to be like this like natural cavern. Like there's a lot of like, you know, rock formations and stuff that has been like bored out and features the crumbled remains of many like forges. Like you look around and it's just like forges as far as the eye can see. Some of them like elevated up on dioceses, some of them like down in like depressions in the ground. And you can see there are walkways, there are like stone walkways and bridges that like lead through them. A lot of the bridges are like crumbled. And like all along the walkways, like up above, you see these like great stone channels that kind of like run above. And then above, like along those channels, every so often you see these like little poles that have thin metal like wires of like a dark green color kind of twisted between them. And right now those wires are kind of like glowing almost like red hot. They're pulsing like with red hot light. However, there are other like channels that have like collapsed and the wires are like hanging loose. And yeah, you can see that there probably once upon a time there was like hundreds of forges down here. However, looking around, you can see there's only a few that actually seem like functional right now, and there are some dwarves that are working in the forges that are still intact. And you can see these wires that go down from these channels like descend into the forges, and they're like almost like channeling some sort of power into these furnaces. And above all else, as you sort of like enter into this chamber, you notice like the air in here is like a bitter hot, despite being so far beneath the surface. Even just like stepping off the elevator, you find yourself sort of subconsciously like pulling at your like clothes to like try to vent some of the heat.
All right.
Yeah, and as
Find
As you like walk out towards the forge, you kind of cross over this large bridge, and like looking down below, you can see there's like this sheer drop into like darkness for a while, and then at the bottom you just see this sort of like glowing pit of flames kind of down below, and you swear for a second you see like an eye appear in it, but then it's like as soon as you like look back, it's gone.
Freaky.
Okay.
Let's ignore that and move on.
I knock on the door.
All right, so yeah, you head up to one of the forges. There's no door; it's just like an open forge. So you head up to one of the forges, and ask around. There's a dwarf that's kind of like shouting orders at the other dwarves, and you kind of like maybe like tap on his shoulder, and he turns around and like shouts in your face basically because he's like in shouting mode, and he's just like, "Yeah, what's it? What do you want? I'm busy. We've got orders to fill."
You got a caps lock on.
I say like I look at him and it's like I was just like I'm looking to I'm searching for like some master crafted weaponry. Yes, I need a replacement for my own if not a repair. I say.
Yeah, so he sort of like looks at you like back to the forge, back to you, and he just sort of says, well, you've come at a bit of a bad time. We've got a lot of orders to fill, not a lot of stock to sell. He says, but if you needed something reforged, I suppose we could do it real quick. And he says, like, show me.
I take out the silver sword.
And he sort of like looks at it, and he says, huh. Says, suppose it's all right for human craft. And he says,
No, don't make anyone.
yeah, he says, blade's a little banged up. What the hell did you do to this thing? It looks like it. He said it looks like it's folded in on itself.
I was using it.
I was fighting a monster made out of rock, maybe. It was hanging from the ceiling, this stalactite-looking thing with large tentacles.
He sort of like he nods. Says, Roper. Says, let me guess, you dropped your sword, huh?
It's just like, yes, I had to pull out the other one.
And yeah, so he nods. Says, right, well, give me some time and I could fix this. Kind of like looks it over. Says, silver doesn't run cheap though. We're gonna need to replace some of this coating. Says, I can fix it. It'll be 20 gold though.
All right, I say, and I'll get out 20 gold and give to him.
All right, yeah, he like takes it, and then he like shouts over to one of the dwarves, and he says, you there, Hammerwick, fix this damn blade, and he just like throws it over to this dwarf. And he says, and make it quick. Yeah, so he like tosses over to this dwarf who like runs it over to one of the forges and begins like working on repairing it. And then he's like, now if there's nothing else, I've got to get back to whipping these dwarves into shape. We've got a lot of work to do.
Well, if nothing, I was wondering if you could point me towards like an armory shop or anything of the like.
And he says,
weapon shop, something.
He says, your best bet would be on the surface. We don't have a lot to spare here. We've got to keep up with orders for our own men. He said, there's a war to fight.
Let's see. And it's just like, oh,
He says,
certainly.
but let me see. Rollo! Rollo! And he shouts out, and you can see this sort of more like blonde-haired dwarf kind of like looks up from the forges, and he says, and he shouts back, and he says, what is it, Helgrim? I'm busy. And he says, Rollo, we got some folks looking to buy something. We got anything extra? And Rollo kind of shouts back. It's like, maybe I could take a look. Yeah, then the dwarf turns back to you and says, Rollo might have something. He likes to do a lot of work on the side.
It's like, all right, thank you very much, I say, and I look towards this Rollo dwarf.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can see he's sort of like similarly, like he's obviously like overseeing like a different set of dwarves that are all like working hard at the forge, but he himself is like at the forge like crafting something. whereas this other guy's just kind of like standing around, being a foreman, bossing them around.
Yeah.
And you walk over there, and he's like quenched whatever he was working on and kind of like put it off to the side. And as you like walk up, he says, he says, I was wondering who it was. I was looking for something. He says, what can I do for you?
It's just like weapons such as sword, preferable, but one some sort of weapon that I could use. Like I would like to see if you have something well a bit stronger than perhaps my own. Perhaps something that could be equal to some magical enchantments, but sort of shrugs. I sort of Arquill sort of shrugs. Says, but I hear like the dwarven crafts, and from what I've seen, dwarven crafts have been rather fine. So
He's looking for a +1 sword.
Dwarven crabs.
Yeah, so he sort of like thinks for a bit, and he's like, well, assuming you got that sword from the same place other surface worlders get theirs, well, it won't be hard to find one better, but I'm afraid as far as matching actual magical potential, he says, only the Grand Master Dwarven Forgers of Delzoon could accomplish such a feat. He says, until we get these forges up and running, we're not capable of channeling any of the flames into actual magical potential. He says, afraid all I've got is normal weaponry.
Stop crying.
Well, it's just like I see. It's just like well, can I have a look, see if there's anything particular, something that's perhaps better than what I have. Say.
Sorry, what was that?
I say it's like, well, I can have a look, see if there's anything better than what I have.
Yeah, I mean, looking around, he sort of gestures over to a rack that has a number of like weapons on it. You can see there's basically like, any sort of like weapon or armor you could find in the player's handbook here. All of it like looks better crap, like it looks more impressive, but none of it's like any more like well balanced than a typical like sword. There's no like magical potential here or anything like that. No bonuses. I said if there were any such thing, it probably would have been saved for the actual like dwarven forces.
Dwarves. Yeah. All right. That's just like. Well, it all looks fine.
You just called the dwarven craftsmanship fine. Good luck.
Draw your blades.
Your blade.
Roll initiative.
My blade is in force.
Yeah, so as you're looking it over, he's like, says, if you come back in a year or two, maybe we'll have the forges fully up and running and we can get you something real nice, but for now, this is all we've got.
All right. Says, I thank you for having a look. It's quite impressive, I say. But I think I'll stick to the one I have once it gets repaired, say.
He says, he's kind of like a nod and says, right, well, like I said, come back in a little while and perhaps maybe we'll have something good. Says, or maybe, he says, maybe you could convince Helgrim to make you something. Said, bastard likes to stand around and yell a lot, but he's a damn good smith, probably best that we've got. There's a reason Brunor himself named him foreman.
So you're saying he could make something that's...
And he says, I've seen him make some damn fine things in my day, but, like I said, good luck convincing him. He's got his head in the clouds with this new position of his. I said, he hasn't actually touched a forge since he got here.
Which was how long ago?
He said, a few months.
I see. Says, thank you for the information. I'll start heading back to the other dwarf.
Then he goes, the other one can do that for you.
Go so the other dwarf.
As I go back to the first one.
And so you like
Forest
walk
and,
over there and like he's just kind of again just like shouting orders at some of the dwarves, and you can see the dwarf that he gave the blade to is currently sort of like, you know, pounding out the dents in your blade and like recoating it with silver. And as you like walk over, it's just like, what? It's gonna take time. Come back in like 30 minutes.
It's just like,
Wow, 30 minutes, that's fast.
that's just
They're
like,
dwarves.
yeah, of course, I say. It's just like, I was just having a look over at the other weapons. It's quite impressive. It's just, but nothing that seemed to fit me, so to speak. It's just like, though I did hear something interesting, you know. It's just, here at your skills were supposedly a lot better than most of the dwarves here.
And he's sort of
Were
like,
being perhaps the key word.
he lets out this like sort of like snorting chuckle, and he just sort of says, "Ha! None of these dwarves. I could smith circles around these dwarves." He says, "Unfortunately, I'm a bit busy trying to keep them all in line."
It's just like, of course. Far be it from me to disturb that. It's just, but I couldn't help but overhear that some think that perhaps you've let your new position go to your head. That you've not been keeping up with your own craftsmanship. That perhaps your skills are rusting, so to speak.
And he just sort of like he like sort of shouts it. He's like, "What? Who said that? I'll bash him over the head with my hammer. These fresh-blooded smiths, they couldn't smith a dagger if it cost them their life."
So I was thinking, perhaps you know, as a master craftsman, you should perhaps every now and again remind them of why you have been given this position. He says, and so show them just exactly what makes you worthy of being a foreman compared to the rest of them. I'd say.
And he just sort of like kind of like grumbles, and he's just like he says, "Well, before that, who was it?"
And it's just like it's just like I wouldn't really far be it from me to say something, Princess. After all, perhaps they are right. He says, "How about this?" He says, "If you prove yourselves better craftsmen," he says, "I will tell you exactly what you want." He says, "And I will also, of course, compensate you for the work." He says.
Yeah, he just sort of like looks at you. Let's see. Why don't you roll a persuasion check, and I'm going to roll a check to see if he can keep his ego in check.
Can I give him advantage because he did play it good? Played
Sure.
it really good.
Yeah.
Persuasion. Once my sheet stops, there we go. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he just sort of like, you could see like you are basically like you pushed his buttons like just right, like ruffled his feathers, and he's just like his ego just explodes, and he just shouts, he's like, "I'll show every last one of you smiths fresh off the mother's teat. I'm the best there is in this goddamn place." And he says he says, "Right, this is gonna take some time, but come back at the end of the day. I'll show you a real dwarven blade."
Like,
Says,
certainly. I say. I look at David, I'll give him like the smile and the wink.
all the dwarves like stop what they're doing and just like look kind of like confused at what's going on. And then as he sees that, he's like, "Enough of that! Back to work, the lot of you!" And they all just like quickly like return to what they were doing.
Great. And so I will scamper off and look at Nibelung. It's just like, so anything you want to do?
Someone else need their buttons pushed.
Not really. Not much for me down in these underground cities.
It's just like, well, I suppose that's fair.
I miss the outdoors, the woods, and the fresh air. Everything smells so stale down here.
It's just like, yeah, I can understand that. It says, but hopefully we'll be out soon enough. It says, I wonder if the dwarves did find if the dwarven's expeditions, like if they were able to find the dwarves that we were helping earlier.
Yeah. Maybe we can go and ask.
Yes, I was thinking that.
Although it was quite a ways away with the trains and the elevators.
Oh yes, of course. But it's not like we have anything better to do, right?
Right.
Yeah, well,
I tried to look like I understand what he means.
like I said, your like regular sword is gonna be done in like 30 minutes. Obviously, like the elevator down here took 40 minutes, so you're probably best off like waiting around until that's done.
Yeah.
And then you can do whatever after that.
So my sword is prepared now?
Yeah. If you wait the 30 minutes, like your regular silver sword is repaired.
Oh, thank God. Remove this -1. Remove this -1. And remove the -1 here and the -1 there. It's back to being functional. All right. Time to then go and find the other dwarves and see if they manage to help their friends.
All right, so you head out. Like the foreman said, basically like come back at the end of the day, so you head out. Again, the elevator trip is like 40 minutes up through a pitch dark shaft, and this time you're basically the two of you are all alone. This time, and once you reach the top, you spill out into the Iron Tabernacle with all these broken churches and stuff. Make your way over towards where the I guess, are you going to the temple where you had like taken Alexei?
Yeah, I think we'll start with that.
Okay. So you head there, knocking on the door, and the priest sort of like answers and says, "You're back. Has something happened with your companion?" And kind of like looks out, says, "I don't see her."
I says like, no, we were actually more wondering about the dwarves that we met when we first came here. I says we told them about a location where there were more dwarves who had suffered this fate.
So he looks and says, so you're the one that found that lost expedition then? He says, indeed, this late in the night last night, some of the dwarven guards brought a bunch of miners back. They looked, well, terrible, honestly. He said, worst I've seen yet. Their minds seemed broken, as well as their bodies. He says, I'm not sure what we can do for them, but we're doing the best we can.
All right, that's reassuring. He says, did the expedition find anything else?
He sort of like shrugs and says, I'm just a priest. They don't debrief me on everything that goes down in their operations. You'd have to find Captain Bristlecloak and ask him yourself.
All right.
And he says, I think he was looking for you anyways. Said if I saw you to send you over.
All right. I will.
Can you remind us of the direction again?
And he just points to the giant gate that is sitting on top of the ledge.
Okay. Leave.
Yes, you make your way once more over to the elevator that leads up to the undergate here, and yeah, you make your way up there again, sort of slow going, but when you make it to the top, you can see a number of guards kind of like standing around. Like some of them are like hitting like stone training dummies. Others are just kind of milling about, keeping watch. And you can see like Captain Bristlecloak standing there, kind of bellowing orders to some of the guards. And as you like make it to the top of this to this elevator, he sort of turns and says, "Ah, there you are. I was looking for you." And he comes like walking over.
Yeah, so we heard.
And yeah, so he like walks over, like looks up at you, and then just like claps you on the back, and he says, "You're a good man, Alquill Redmoon. We managed to find those men you had talked about." And he says, "Got them all back home safe." He says,
That's good.
I said, "We owe you a debt of gratitude." I said, "You saved a lot of lives today." And he says, "In fact, I thought a good deed like that deserved an honest reward." He says, "It's not much, but take it." And he just sort of holds out like a little small like sack.
All right, I take it.
Yeah, you take it, and it like, jingles with the weight of some coin.
Yeah, I take it as like, much appreciated. It says, I am actually running a little bit low on funds right now. I says, so I says, I'm curious. Do you find anything else other than the dwarves?
And he says, "Well, we found the bodies of the Dwergar you killed and that giant." He says, we dragged back the giant to see if maybe looking it over might grant us any insight into what it did to your friend and our fellow dwarves. Said Dwergar we threw into a pit where they belong.
I see.
Said other than that, we didn't see any signs of further occurrence. Says seems like we managed to get to them before their next guard swap or whatever the hell it is they do.
That's good. And I was just like, but nothing else then. No, it's too bad. I was hoping we might glean some more information.
Sort of shakes his head. Says, "No, nothing else. Obviously, we're still waiting on the results of examining that giant. Had some rather curious belongings in his bag."
Such as?
And he says, "It looked like a little carved figurine of some sort.
Is it black?
He says, aye, some sort of black stone."
Ice?
He says, "Not really sure what that is, but it was pretty cold to the touch."
Shit. I says, melt it. I says, if it's let me see it. It might be black ice. He says.
Sort of
In
like
which case, it's best to melt it.
strokes his beard. He says, like, "Well, that's going to be a problem. We've it's kind of a lot of red tape behind it now. It's been submitted for evidence examination."
It has corrupting properties. If you carry it on too long, it will start affecting your mind. It will make you greedy, more paranoid, volatile. Worse, it would enhance any worse traits within you. So
sort of like
it's 9 years ago. The thing almost saw the Dwarven Valley in Icewind Dale destroyed.
and sort of like scratches his chin. And he says, "You don't say, huh? Dangerous stuff." He says, "But I'm sure our priests have a handle on things." I said, "It'll take more than some stone to get in their minds."
Hopefully, he says, but pass along the warning.
He says,
and
"I'll let them know."
It is extremely hard to melt, but we found that the forges in the Dwarven Valley was enough to melt them back in the Icewind Dales. Says,
And he says, well, push comes to shove, we can just toss it into the fiery pit and let Megara deal with it.
Yes, that is always an option, I says. Well, right, so you found black ice. Well, that's, I suppose, expected. Akar Kessel was the one who supposedly created it. And he's the one who were with these deformed giants
I said,
creatures.
you mentioned this Kessel before. He says, who is he, some sort of Dwergar or something?
No, he is a lich. He used to be a wizard who had a tower up in the Icewind Dales. Tried to take over the whole Dale. Was put a stop to him. He was put a stop to many years ago by a drowned Drizzle, a few Reged, and I think Brunor Battlehammer.
He says, the companions. I says,
Yes.
He says, now that you mention it, I do think I remember that tale. I said, it's not one I've heard for a long time.
Yeah. Well, it seems like 9 years ago he returned as a lich. Was dug up by the dwarves in Dwarven Valley, along with the black ice. Says, turned a whole bunch of them into his zombie slaves. Yes.
And he says, well, I said, if we see this fellow, you can be sure we'll give him hell.
Yeah. Says, when we last saw him was only a few days ago on the boat. As I said, the people on the pirates of Ship Brethnor sold us to him. He wanted revenge for what we had done to him 9 years ago. And he had one of these deformed giants as one of his flunkies. So it's very possible that he is behind all this that's happening with your people right now. Wouldn't surprise me if he wants revenge against Brunor Battlehammer as well.
Sort of like gives this kind of like stoic nod and says, well, we'll certainly keep it in mind. Said, thank you for bringing this information to us. Said
Welcome.
We'll double the guard, make sure nothing can get in. So of course Brunor can take care of himself should things come to pass. But says, last thing we want is our king having to fight the battles on the front line himself.
Yeah, it doesn't exactly send the best of signals, does it?
And he says, well, I wish you luck in whatever it is you're out there to do. He says, now, if you don't mind, I've got to get back to running these drills. Don't want my men getting rusty.
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah, so he returns back to basically, shout and yell at soldiers to do push-ups, and hit dummies and
amuse me.
All right. So meanwhile, back in the top level, back in the Vault of Kings, we just see Alexei just crying as she's like trying to transcribe this scroll. And Graknar wakes up at some point.
Welcome to the land of the living, Graknar.
And yeah, so
Yes,
at this, is there anything else you want to do, Alquil, or you just want to like head back for now?
I want to just head back for now. Wait for until the I almost said end of day, but like the end of the day, so I can pick up my or see how this dwarf is doing.
Okay. So you head back to meet with the others at the tavern, which is like a lot less full, like in the middle of the day, and we'll just go ahead and the time passes, and Alexei, you finish sort of scrawling this spell in your book, and you now have you can now prepare the sending spell. However, of course, it will take you another long rest before you can actually prepare it.
Excellent. Oh.
Yeah, I assume basically like you wait around for the end of the day and head back down to the forges.
Yep.
Yeah, so you do so. Are you going? Is anybody else going to go with him?
Yeah, I'll go again.
All right.
If he comes back through.
Yeah,
the,
we
Yeah, they came back to the tavern. And
I
at
don't
this
know.
point, like Alexei's done with her spell and all that kind of stuff. Alquil just basically probably like mentions like, I tricked the tricked the dwarf into making me a good blade.
Yeah. Yes.
Trick the dwarf into making me good sword.
Yes. So yeah, I would like mention that so you can come along if you want to.
I'll join.
Let's go.
All right. Well, let's head out.
The good old days when playing a sniper in Call of Duty, people are calling me a camper.
All right, so so everybody is going. Sounds like.
Alright, is Alexei going?
Yeah. I can come so long as I'm carried.
Okay, so you're not going then?
If no one carries me, I will stay behind because otherwise it's just not going to end well.
Yeah. No, I would just say we should.
Rest.
Yeah. Let the rest.
Have fun, guys.
All right, so the lot of you, then the three of you, head down to the forges.
Yes.
And just blah 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 blah. You know, elevators, mine carts, etc. etc. You arrive at the forge again, entering into this like sweltering heat. And you can see a number of dwarves at the forge that you like went to, like kind of like crowded around, like looking at something.
Yeah. And I like walk up to the crowd like what are looking at? What are looking at?
Yeah, so you kind of like put your way like through. I mean, I guess they're dwarves, so they don't really like block you your line of sight very
Yeah.
much. You can
I'll look
see
over.
that Helgrim is there, just sort of like kind of in a like sweat with like kind of like black stains all over his face. And he's kind of like standing like proud, gesturing to this weapon that he has created, and you can just hear him shouting. And it's like, "Now look at this! This is how you make a goddamn blade, you lazy, worthless, ill-trained smiths. Now, if I ever hear any of you ever talking bad about my skills again, well, I'll throw you into the depths of Megara's flame."
I like this guy.
And then he goes, okay, Alexei, I'll call that'll be 6,000 gold.
And you can see that the weapon in particular is basically like displayed kind of like tilted back on some sort of stand. And it is this absolutely beautiful looking, well crafted battle axe.
Oh, nice. And I was just like, wow, yes, that does indeed appear to be a very well crafted weapon. Very impressive, I say.
Yeah, so you like step forward, and he says, and there's the son of bitch himself. And he says, you're damn right, it's impressive. He says, you don't know the lengths I went through. He says, I put a lot of work into this thing. I said, and he kind of gestured to it. You can see there's like it's pretty like intricate kind of like rune work along the blade itself. And it seems to be like the metal itself is mostly steel, but there's kind of this like patterning to it that implies that it's been like alloyed with other metals. You can see the blade itself actually has this sort of like greenish hue among it. And he says, it was a damn tough job, but I figured I would have to show off everything that I got. He says I managed to scrounge up some of the old adamantine from these wires. Figured I'd worked it into the blade. Give it an edge that'll cut through anything.
I nod impressed and like acknowledges yes, I say. This is clearly shows your skill and your work as the foreman and why you have this job. I say. It says, right. I says. I did promise I would compensate you for your work. Says. So. How much?
So he just sort of like laughs and he says, I must admit, it's I spent so long yelling at these half-baked smiths that I had forgotten what it feels like to get in there and forge a blade with my own hands. He says, made me feel alive again. And
Man, this guy, he must not have a lot going on.
he just he says it was good to break out once in a while. He says
Thank you, Alquill. Thank you.
says as far as cost, he says well, it normally this sort of thing would probably cost you an arm and a leg, but says I think I owe you something for reigniting that spark in my belly. He says, I'll just charge you for the going rate for such a weapon, which is whatever the hell it is. Where's my player's handbook?
I think 500. God.
So it will be 10 gold for the battle axe itself, and then just an extra, we'll say like 100 for the like materials.
All right.
The special materials. It's obvious, like it's not a magical blade itself, but the edge has been reinforced with adamantium, like scrounged from the furnace wires. And the weapon itself is of like extremely good balance. It'll give you like a +1 to hit, but not to damage.
Not damage, yeah.
And if ever it matters, it does count as like an adamantium weapon for bypassing damage reduction or whatever.
So how much gold did we get from that other guy? Because I did take that pouch, but how much gold or money did the other dwarf give us?
He gave you 120 gold.
120.
How convenient.
110. There you go. And I'll add the last 10 to my own sheet.
You bastard four.
What?
Alright, let's see.
Yeah, and you can add it. We'll say brandish it well. And he says, a weapon like that deserves a fitting name. And he says, and you can see he beckons to like the runes on the blade, and you can actually read them because you read Dwarvish. And it just sort of says, it says Helgrim's Fury.
Ah, Helgrim's Fury.
Shall we name it to Mr. X?
How do you spell Helgrim? Like just straightforward.
Helgrim.
Like this.
Yep. Well, no, I instead of E.
Helgrim. Helgrim's Fury. Adamantine battle axe.
And as he like hands it over, and you kind of like furnish the gold, he sort of like nods and says, "Now the lot of you get back to work." and they all just like immediately like rush off to.
Yeah.
Work.
And he hasn't learned anything in the end after all.
Oh, he learned a valuable life lesson.
Yeah, he learned a life lesson. He's the best there is. Damn it.
Yes.
Everyone learned a life lesson that day. Don't piss him off.
We need to introduce him to Rudas Conrad, whatever the fuck his name was. But anyway, yes.
That's one hell of a callback there for.
That's the only James gets. Rudas Conrad, that was his name. But yes. All right. Cool. I'll take my weapon, and I'll just like, if I ever need a blade again, I know who to seek out. I say.
And he sort of like nods and says, "Aye, but next time it'll cost you."
Of course. Yeah, I'd expect nothing less.
Yeah, great.
You hear from the tavern where we left Alexei.
Yeah. All right. Let's head back to the tavern then, and let's discuss our next course of action.
All right. So you begin to make your way through the tunnels that lead to the elevator back up to the Iron Tabernacle, and as you do, the three of you walking down, you all suddenly feel a rumble,
Oh no.
and like a loud sort of like screaming sound, coming from back behind you, and you're sort of passing through this hallway with a number of these like crumbling dwarven statues that flank either side of it. And suddenly, like, you notice you've gotten pretty far at this point. The glow of light that like comes from the end of this hallway just like extinguishes and everything goes pitch black. And there's just like this rumbling kind of sound, like bits of debris breaking off from the roof above and kind of crumbling around you.
What's happening? And
It's a cave-in!
it's a cave-in. What's going on?
It's a troll.
And then the rumbling
Think of the
stops.
cave troll.
And then the rumbling just like stops, but everything is still like pitch black. And you can hear like sounds of like very, very, very distant, like echoing sounds of like shouting. Basically the same thing you're saying. Like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's head that way.
Let's head that way! Run!
All right. Like I said, it is pitch black here. So
I can't see anything.
Oh,
I'll
right,
produce flame. Set my hand on fire.
Strike a torch.
all right. So you strike a torch, and the three of you begin sort of running back, the way you came. I think after like a few moments, you can hear like footsteps up ahead, like running towards you. But obviously it's outside of the radius of your torch. You can't quite see.
Can I see?
No, you can only see 60 feet, so you still can't really see too far ahead. However, you get down the hallway, and then you hear some shouting. And I don't think any of you, none of you actually understand what's said, but it sounds vaguely.
What language is it?
What languages do you speak?
Dwarven, giant, human.
Orcish, common, and giant.
Yeah, it's,
Common halfling giant.
You don't, none of you understand this, but it sounds vaguely Australian for some reason.
G'day, mate.
It's other common.
And I think as you are approaching up, so they can see you like way before you can see them. So,
I ready my battle axe anyway, because now my great axe, because
Getting out my
can
Helgrim's
you
Fury.
But
guys?
does it sound like, I don't know, aggressive.
It's
It's
loud,
foreign it's foreign languages.
angry foreign languages.
Lights are out, foreign languages, a lot of screaming. I mean, that's all I need.
That's all Ragnar needs to get ready
so-
for battle.
Yes.
Why don't you guys
And that's why Ragnar was fired from the
roll
travel agency.
roll
Barbarian
initiative?
I'm not here, am I?
No, you're not. They left you behind. You guys are back
Cool.
here. You can arrange yourselves kind of behind these two statues, however you guys would have been running up.
Which direction are they coming from?
Down the hall this way.
Oh shit! What the hell is this map?
I didn't see any pointing.
Oh, that's because I was in the GM layer. This way.
Oh, it's not supposed to be disadvantage. So it's still 10. Was the first roll.
Okay.
So.
Why is it not adding you to the initiative order?
I have no idea, man. I even click on like the token and everything every time.
Maybe your default settings got changed some reason. Like it should be set to default roll to tracker, but it's not.
But it's not.
Oh, of course. I opened a character sheet and now Roll20 is freaking out. How dare you open a character sheet? This is forbidden. You can't do that.
I shall never do something like that.
Bastard. Initiative. Oh yeah, it's not checked. Weird. Oh no, you tried to change something on a character sheet. How dare you?
Oh, there thy.
Why does Roll20 just lag so much?
Well, it's mostly, I think, with this.
No, it
type of
happens.
character sheet.
I think it's this. Yeah, I think this character sheet just lags a lot.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's this because I'm not experiencing that kind of lag with all like the other character sheets or other game types.
It's just Greknar.
Just correct. No, it's every sheet. So yeah, if you go on your okay, yeah, there it updated. All right, so now it should, when you roll initiative, should send it to the tracker. But for now, I will add your turn, and Nibby's in there. Get a 10. Okay. All right, so the first person to go is not Alco.
Do we have a torch radius for from Alquil?
Yeah, I don't have the dynamic lighting on, but basically you can see 40 feet. So you can see like up to here. Graknar can see 60 feet because he's got dark vision. All right, so let me see here. What are your passive perceptions? I think I have them on your token, but I'm typing something right
I think
now.
mine is 18.
12. I think. No, wait. It can't be 12. I have more. No, it's actually 12. I apparently don't have that. Yes, because it's charisma based.
14.
I forgot. Paladins are no longer. In this edition, they're not wisdom based.
Wow, really? You forgot that, even though you've been playing so long with the past Paladin?
Look, there's part of me that just like.
At least he doesn't forget his spells.
Ultimate combat, but yeah, no, like it's this part of me that like still think paladin and like wisdom.
All right, so Graknar and Nibby, you both see sort of in the outskirts of the darkness, something. It looks like sort of shadows swimming behind the statues of these dwarven statues, and a couple of creatures trying to hide from you, but unfortunately not doing a good job of it. And they're currently like pressed up into like behind the statues, like amidst the shadows, trying to be sneaky, doing a bad job.
Sneaky beaky like.
Alquil.
Yes. I will start moving forward. I don't see anything, right? Was Graknar and Nibby you said you saw them more?
Yeah, so they saw them, but you, however, do not see either of them.
All right. Let's move on forward. And I mean, I don't see anything, so I'm just gonna ready an attack for when I see something.
Okay. Then another mystery combatant. Let me just see the range of this. 90. Okay. Oh yeah. So all of you. Suddenly everything around you becomes sort of begins to like dim almost as the ground looks like it begins to swim with shadows, and you see these squirming sort of black ebony tentacles begin to rise up from the writhing shadows on the ground around. Let's see here. There's one bit here, one bit here. And they emerge here and here. Whoop, that shouldn't be. To the back, please. It doesn't. Okay. So there's no like immediate effect, but then basically like the ground begins like filled with these like swarming tentacles, like black tentacles. Although you can't see where they came from.
Okay. Some black tentacles. Oh no.
Yep. And Nibby, as you begin your turn within the area of these black tentacles, I need you to make a dexterity saving throw.
Okay.
All right. So you are successful. So you are not you are not damaged or grabbed by these tentacles. However, the area is still difficult terrain, so it costs twice as much movement to move through.
Okay. Change. So I have, well, technically we're 12 and a half, so do I go 15 or 10?
It's always
Like
round
25.
down, so 10.
Okay. Mosey on down there.
Right?
And I'll go, Aqua, what are you doing? There's one right next to you!
Huh? What?
And I'll,
Oh, I should probably
Actually- hold on, let me read this bill real quick. I'm gonna do this on the ground.
Okay.
Is it two separate
Yeah, it's like
spells?
it looks like it's two separate.
Okay, I'll do it on the one on Alquil then.
Okay. Go ahead and make a wisdom ability check.
Is that just wisdom?
Yep, just straight wisdom check. You are unable to dispel the magic.
Great.
It is unfortunately higher than third level, so it is not immediate. All right. So if that's all, then Graknar, you as well, a dexterity saving throw. You're a barbarian, so you have advantage.
Danger sense, yes. I have danger sense, don't I?
Yep.
So that's advantage. Advantage, dexterity, saving throw. No, just this. Yeah, saving throw, yeah.
All right, so
Wow.
you fail. So as a
Great.
result, you take 12 points of bludgeoning damage, and you are also restrained, so you cannot move.
Okay. That's grand. 12 damage. Yeah. Can I do anything more this round, or?
Let me see here. You can attempt to use your action to break free of the tentacles.
Yes, I will do that. What do I need to roll?
It is a strength or dexterity check. Your choice.
Strength.
Okay. Yeah. So you manage to
Get out.
yeah, you manage to free yourself from the tentacles.
Can I move out of it?
Yeah, you can move out of it.
Then
It'll-
can I use my bonus action to rage?
I don't see why not. Yeah, you can rage. We'll say it'll be like 10 feet to get out. So yeah,
Yeah.
you should be able to get
Yeah,
up to that guy.
I'm just walking up to that.
But yeah, you've
Raging
already
in his
used your
face.
action. There we go.
Yes.
Rage in the face.
Rage in the face. Okay, then we have these boys. What do they do?
What do they do?
What do
What
they
do you do?
Okay. Obviously, you hear some more shouting, and then Elquil,
Yes.
from out of the darkness, come
no.
some bolts.
What?
Yes. Some bolts. Luckily for you, these are small hand crossbow bolts, so they have disadvantage, but you cannot see them, so it just cancels out. So they're just flat rolls. And there's 4 of them that are able to hit you. So actually, all 6 of them can get you. So the first hit, does that hit you?
Yes, that will hit me.
All right, so you take 10 points of piercing damage, and I need you to make a Constitution saving throw.
I can't saving throw.
Okay. So you fail. That is not 5 or more. So you are poisoned.
No.
I don't know. Isn't he? No, it's diseases, right? That you're immune to?
Yeah, he's immune to disease. Yeah. So then I guess the next crossbow comes at you. That one will also hit you. I'll just roll the other 4. Let's see.
Yep.
Okay, so one more hits you. For 9, and then another con save. Okay, that one you're fine. And then they all... you hear some, like... You hear the sound of, like, stone grinding, and, like, and, like, feet running across a stone floor.
Okay, but I see nothing.
But yeah, you obviously don't see anything. Just yet. Because you're, what, 40 feet? Yeah, so... Alright, and then... It's the Shadow Demons again. So this one is obviously very, very visible to you, Gragnar. This one... moves up to Alquil. And he attacks from the shadows. With advantage. But misses. And then the one on you, Gragnar, attacks without advantage.
Yes. Hits.
Yep, so you take 12 psychic damage.
Oh, it's psychic. Why the fuck did I rage?
I mean, you couldn't have known.
I know. Or I could have. If I knew. No. Yeah.
Alright, Alquil, you begin your turn in the black tentacles. Go ahead and make a dex save.
Yes. Also, this one that's like next to me. Did I get the opportunity to attack it? Like, do I see it now?
Yeah, you would be able to. with disadvantage,
Awesome.
obviously.
Yes, because I'm poisoned. Thirteen.
13 does not hit.
Damn it.
What kind of a shit axe did he make you?
All right, and now it's a dexterity saving throw. Yes,
Yes.
normal because poison is just ability checks and attack rolls.
All right, you succeed.
All right,
Wow.
No ill effects.
What a
Actually-
waste of natural 20.
I shall step out there
Okay.
and attack this creature with an adamantium black, the Helgrim's Fury. 1,
Completely lost your track of words
Yep.
there.
2,
All right, the second one hits.
Divine Smite. roll
So you
2d8.
deal 3 slashing damage.
Yep, and it's just a 2d8 because it's against undead or a fiend. Oh, this is a fiend.
I don't know. Make a religion check. It looks pretty
Well,
pretty demonic to you.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's 10 radiant damage if it is a fiend. 8 if it's not.
80.
No, 8.
80.
Okay, I'm fucking wondering
8
there
if,
for a
it's,
second.
8 if it's not fiend.
Okay, I was wondering there for a second. Holy shit, I thought you said 80. I'm like, oh, what kind of power truck is this?
Okay, so you hit it. So what's that? 10?
That's 10, yeah.
All right, you deal
Radiant.
20 points of radiant damage to this creature.
Ooh.
And it
look
recoils
like
like immediately, like hissing.
Ah, nice. All right, that's my turn.
All right. These guys. Again, you hear like more footsteps, rapid shouting and running. It's coming from like this a ways. Wait, no. This a ways.
All right.
Man, need new spells.
All right, Nibby.
I'll walk up to this feller. I'll try one of these. I claw him.
That will definitely
I
hit.
scratched
You hit and you deal him 5 acid damage.
So they're resistant to everything. Except for radiant. And let's do one of them.
All right. You wild shape.
Let's just do one of these.
I will say if you turn into something very big, so that's a large, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you you do not. I was about to say if you turn into something giant, you would actually enter into the tentacles, but a large creature is you can fit in there without. All right,
That's it.
Ragnar,
I'm pissed, man. I'm pissed.
you pissed.
Why you
Yeah.
pissed, boy?
Because they do damage to me when I'm
Psychic
raging.
damage.
How dare they?
So just reckless, great weapon master, just slam into them because I'm pissed, man. I'm pissed. It's dead to me now.
It's dead to me.
Plus that damage on the last one.
Okay, so deal 50, 61 points of damage. I mean, it's still there, but like barely.
It's dead to me, okay?
Oh, Grekna, are you okay?
Just look over and you see me just.
Take
All
this,
right.
yes.
So Greknar. you can actually see these guys as they kind of pop out from behind cover.
Is it a drow?
Yes.
Is it elf?
You see a couple of drow pointing hand crossbows at you from around the corner. They were hidden from you, so they do have an advantage.
They have advantage anyway, so
Yeah, well, you did reckless attack, so.
Yes.
So let me see here. R2D20, keep highest. CH1 7. Okay, one hits and the other hits. So you will take 3 piercing damage and 3 piercing damage, and I need 2 Constitution saving throws.
54 to Constitution saving throws.
Yep.
One fail and one pass.
Okay, so let's see, 13, well, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. If you had gotten one lower, no, you are just poisoned for that failure.
Oh yeah.
One lower on that roll, and it would have been much worse. But
I don't know what the poison effect is, so can you just brief me? on it?
you have disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks.
Of disadvantage on attack rolls?
Yes.
You fucking with me? I need to reckless every turn now.
Well,
And
now I
then-
have no choice.
Then they spend their movement disappearing through the wall. It seems like.
But now I know they're there, right? Just
Yeah.
or are they-
You know
Well,
where they were.
You know where they were, but they move out of sight. And you can hear the grinding of stone again. All right, and then we're back to the Shadow Demons. So this one that's on you, Ragnar. You see it kind of like shifts over to your left, and like begins like sinking into the wall, and then just disappears.
The one I was fighting?
Yeah,
What a pussy.
I mean,
Almost died.
Yeah, I don't care if it almost died.
the other one, however, is going to stay and fight. It is going to attack Alquil.
Oh. Oh.
So, disadvantage on attack rolls, I see.
Claws without advantage. Okay. I don't like that connotation, but sure, that hits me.
Yep, you take 14 psychic damage.
Guys.
What was it for?
I have 15 hit points left.
Okay.
I have so little hit points for what I'm supposed to be.
Why do you have so little?
Because I keep rolling shit.
And
Why don't you just take
then
the average?
Because who
It's
else
not pussy.
takes the average?
Only cowards take the average.
I take the average.
Yeah.
You are a coward. Case in point.
and then it is going to sink into the ground. And let me see here. Okay, yeah, you both see it reemerge like over here. Obviously, like trying to stick to the like shadows of these statues and stay hidden, but doing a bad job. Alquil.
All right. 15. Oh, for fuck's sake. Wait. I think I do 10, 15. Aha! Like this. Take this. Helgrim's Fury. Oh, Helgrim's. Wait, that was the versatile. I think that was the versatile one. Whoops. But still same roll. This one is the correct one. Yes.
Yep, that hits. You deal
Seven.
5 slashing damage.
And I will Blind Smite.
All right.
3d8. 11.
You deal 22 points of radiant damage.
Huh?
This creature is still standing, although pretty badly injured after those two blasts of light have torn bits of its shadow away from itself.
All right. And that's my turn.
All right.
I like how we're just shredding those little fuckers. Like, haha, we're ghost. Ah!
All right. At this point, the tentacles on the ground disappear.
Oh.
Right, because that's... Yes, okay. Yes. So the tentacles disappear. All right, Nibby.
Okay. I'll follow Alquil, and I'll use my bonus action to unshape myself. Back to me. And I'll do these on Alquil. Come on, roll well.
Ooh, thank you.
Decent. Jesus, I got small.
Ragnar. Should be about that size. Go ahead, Ragnar. Do it.
Yep.
Do it.
Do it.
Unlimited
So,
pancakes.
give me a second. Just gonna check the range and shit. Da. Okay. Up here. You know, I have to do what I have to do. Reckless attack, because I ain't gonna do any disadvantage attacks here.
Okay. So you're neutral. Rolling neutral.
Ooh, older. Oh no. Do you want me
Alright.
to roll the older
I
damage
mean,
as well?
it's dead.
More.
it's super dead.
It pissed me off. Okay.
You slice it.
Savage attacks.
Well, he has that rolled into the to the thing already.
Yeah, it's already adding it.
Oh yeah. Oh.
So he
So-
dealt more damage than he should have. Cheats!
Doesn't matter. So, yes, you slice through this thing with your great axe, and it sort of like screams as its shadowy essence like splits apart, and then you see this sort of strange kind of effect as this shadow just kind of disappears.
I use the rest of my movement and run up here. Do I see someone?
No. So you like run up there, and you just sort of like see you run behind the statue, and it's just like a flat stone wall.
There's no one there. Oh man.
Well, there definitely was someone there when like someone shot at you.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's why I'm there.
Yep. But there's nobody there that you can see currently.
Sadness.
That's
Two more
sad.
attacks. I had 2 more attacks I needed to get out.
Nope.
Yes, I did.
Nope. This guy is just eating himself over here. All right, Alquil.
All right. Let's have a look. See here. I know I have disadvantage, but I'm gonna try to perceive them anyway. Nope.
Nope. Yeah. Nothing.
I'll move up.
Right, Nibby.
One, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's my max movement. Can Can I make a perception check? See if I see anything. Anyone? Any
Uh,
ears? Pointy ears sticking out behind the statues?
Go ahead. Yeah. Perception check.
Perception. Where are you?
Hmm. Tell you what. I'm gonna give you a bargain.
Devil's bargain.
A dark bargain.
Am I
If
going
you-
to have to sacrifice something?
If you take a level of exhaustion, I'll give you the success on this. Because you are close.
Why?
You are close, but you will. If you strain yourself and give yourself a level of exhaustion, I will give you the success.
Thank you.
Exhaustion for looking? Alright,
You're
sure.
really looking, okay?
Sure.
All right.
I look so hard, I shit myself.
Yeah. It's no. It's just like you like strain, like you focus real hard, and you can see that behind the statue, incredibly well hidden amidst the dwarven carvings, there is a secret door.
Which, this statue?
This one, the one you're all around.
Oh.
It's like right behind here.
Okay. Guys, it feels super weird, but there's a door right there. You see those dwarven carvings? That's the door.
What?
I think I shit myself.
Stop shitting yourself.
What? Why?
I don't know. I strained myself somehow.
It's mental exhaustion.
Oh, okay.
I'm tired now. I'm gonna go sleep.
Yeah. I need 24 hours. Do you mind waiting? Well, I guess that's because it's.
But yeah, now that you've
saving a smack action.
Yeah, now that you've pointed it out, everybody can like see this like secret door.
Actually, I'll bonus action. Boom. Let's see. How's Greknar looking? I can't see. How does Greknar look? I can't see it so far.
Angry.
Okay, so I won't heal him. That's for Alquil.
I have I'm missing like 12 HP, no 13 HP.
I gave it to you already.
Oh right.
I said that's for Alquil.
Oh right.
All right,
I
Gregnar.
heard like how is Alquil?
Alright.
What are you laughing at?
You're not even here. We don't hear him laughing. Be quiet, James.
No.
What do you do, Gregnar? You are now aware of the secret door.
Yeah, I open the door and go inside.
All right, so opening the door, as you slide it open, you can see on the other side there is what appears to be like a natural sort of tunnel that leads out. And this tunnel is absolutely fucking choked with spider webs.
How did them just move here then?
Magic, man.
Dude.
Aliens.
No
Dicks,
aliens
man.
here.
Oh, okay, I'll go in.
No aliens here. Hello, my fellow humans.
Get out of here, Reinhardt.
I start moving into the tunnel.
Okay, it's difficult terrain to move through, so
Yeah.
you get
Because of the webs or size?
because of the webs. Yeah, it's difficult terrain to move through the webs. And let me see here. And as soon as you enter into the webs, can you make a dex save?
Danger sense.
Yeah, I mean you are aware of the webs. Okay, so you do not get stuck in the webs as you push your way through. And yeah, you managed to make it 15, and then I guess you can dash if you want to get a little bit further.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, you can move yourself a bit further. Put all these fucking webs on the token layer. GG.
Oh, right.
I can't get to your token now because it's just covered in webs. Okay, so from there you can kind of see.
Why do I feel like we're in the dungeon now?
Without me.
I cast
Dungeon
summon.
crawl.
I cast summon Alexei.
Okay, summon Alexei.
I'll go to the left.
Fuck you, James. You don't get to play anymore.
Okay.
Apparently so.
So Greknar, there's
Yes.
a crossbow bolt coming your way.
Nice.
Highest 7. It hits you
Yes.
for 4 points of piercing damage. It came from the right-hand side. Came from that way. To the right.
Right hand side.
Yeah, it came from that way, where most of the webs seem to be congregated. And go ahead and make me a con save.
Concept, yes. Concept. There we are. That's not a save.
No.
Dex is a save.
Okay. Yeah, so you are fine. You are not further afflicted. But yeah, you can hear like booted footsteps running down the hall that way. And I think at this point, seeing as the way ahead is barred by this difficult terrain, they are going to outrun you. So I think you see like a drow figure like slinking around the corner, and then like you hear their boots like running off, and disappearing down this like winding, twisting tunnel that seems to like descend down into the earth.
Okay. Oh, you said difficult terrain, so yeah, I can move there. Where I was, I can move there.
But yeah, so we're like out of initiative order again. I guess Graknar, like a few, like 6 seconds pass or whatever. Can you make another dex save just to see?
Advantage, dexterity, saving throw.
Okay, yeah, you managed to not get stuck in the webs.
I cast Produce Flame on the webs.
And if
I'm
you
not
want
sure
to,
webs are. I'm not sure webs are that easily flammable.
Of course they are. They're webs. Haven't you seen movies?
Every movie ever.
Yeah.
yeah. So you like if you shoot a produce flame at the web, it does indeed begin burning. Like 5 feet of it like burns away.
Okay.
And like the web is caught fire, but it seems to be like it's basically like 5 feet every 6 seconds.
I do that, so yeah, just removing the web.
Okay, yeah. So you
That's
begin
for
removing the
next.
web.
Not the 5 feet that Greknar's in. So I
Well,
don't burn
you
him.
can't. Do you have control flame? Because at this point, the web's just like on fire.
Okay, so I don't need to recast it every 6
No,
seconds.
no. It's just slowly burning
okay.
away.
Okay. Oh well.
Good luck,
Uh,
Ragnar.
So Greknar, eventually the fire, like whether you like it or not.
I will keep moving.
Okay,
I'm not gonna stand and burn.
make another dex save.
Yeah, well.
Running around.
All right, yeah, you managed to. You can like jump out of the web over to like the other side as it like burns away.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'll just keep moving up here.
I mean, are you gonna keep like? It's clear to you like you cannot catch them because they had a head start.
No, I'm just checking around the corner. I don't know how far this cave goes. It
Yeah,
just
you
keeps
checking
coming.
around the corner. It just keeps going and going and going and going.
Yeah,
Like,
because in character, yeah, I know, but my character is like, I need to know.
Dumb.
Yeah, because you would have known any better. But you're not even here, so shut the fuck up.
and yeah,
cripples.
so that is that. You guys, I think we will go ahead and end things off here as you like as the drow sort of escape around into this hidden cave network. And the rumbling has like stopped at this point, and like basically you just see like kind of outside of Elko's like torchlight, everything has just gone like pitch black. And next week we will pick up from there and see what happens.
All right.
Thank you all for being here, and
Thank you for
have
the
a good
game.
have a good week. I will see you next Sunday.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Bye-bye.
So, since he was late this week, James is in charge of the recap next week. Show up on time.
Fine, but you're getting it from Alexi's perspective, so that fight that's
Cool.
happening, like.
Good. I want to hear every detail of the horrible crippling pain that Alexei's in.
No problem.
All right. See you next week. Bye.